everyone, Brienne here from Hooked on Homemade Happiness. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are starting part 1 of a 10-part series where we will be making this mandala crochet blanket. So to get started, I just kind of wanted to go over the layout of the blanket and the different shapes and textures and things that you'll see throughout the pattern. I do want to start off by saying this is an intermediate level pattern. An advanced or adventurous beginner could definitely try this pattern, but this is not a how-to crochet video tutorial. I don't go into too much depth on how to do any basic stitches. You should know how to do basic stitches before starting this pattern. Things like double crochet, single crochet, and half double crochets. Any special stitches like the popcorn stitch, or here half double crochet in the third loop, or these shell stitches. Those types of stitches I will definitely show you how to do. So when we get started with this blanket, we will start in the center here, and then it works its way out. You could see we start with this circle, and it will turn it into a square, and then we kind of change the angle of our square here, and then as we continue, we will again change the direction of our square, and then we have kind of this shell-like section and then a border here across the top. So again, this will be a 10-part series running over the course of 10 weeks. For this blanket, I used Caron Cakes from Yarnspirations. I used the color Strawberry Trifle for this sample. I used 6 skeins of yarn for this blanket, so if you're going to use Caron Cakes, I did use 6 of them. It is a worsted weight yarn. It is a self-striping yarn, and I just let the stripes do its thing in this blanket. There are a couple of sections where I did pull out specific colors, but for the most part, I just let the self-striping happen. In the grand scheme of things, you can't really tell. You could see here, I had a color change right in the middle of the row here, but in the grand scheme of things, overall, you can't really tell that it's a self-striping or that it changes color randomly in the middle of a round. So that's what I love about this yarn, especially for blankets. It feels like the color changes are going to be abrupt, but overall they're really not at all. They work out really perfectly for this pattern. There are other brands of self-striping yarn you can use. Again, this is worsted weight, so if you use a DK weight yarn for this, it will come out smaller than what the pattern suggests. So over the course of the 10 weeks, I will have the part of the pattern written on my blog, and then I will also have that one section of the pattern available for a video. And every Friday, I will be releasing the next part of the pattern until we are done with this beautiful blanket. For this video, I am going to be using the colorway Buttercream for the blanket. It is still the Yarnspiration Caron Cakes. Again, I will be using 6 of these for this blanket. Each one is 200 grams, 383 yards, so just keep that in mind if you change the yarn that you'll be using for your blanket. You do not have to use a self-striping yarn. You can just create your own color palette and just pick your favorite worsted weight yarn. You could even do it solid. You don't have to do stripes, whatever you like. Do keep in mind though that because this is self-striping and I just let the stripes happen as they did throughout the pattern, I do not note in the pattern when to change colors for stripes. So if you do want to do your own colors and change colors on your own, it'll be up to you where you want those color changes to happen. It's not noted in the pattern where to change colors. I'm also using an H 5mm crochet hook. I'm using a Clover Amour. They are my absolute favorite hooks. Alright, so let's get started by getting our yarn on our hook. And this blanket does start from the center and then works its way out in a square pattern. We're going to start with making a circle, and then we're going to turn that circle into a square. So we're going to start by getting our yarn on our hook and start with a chain 4. And then I'm going to slip stitch to the very first chain that I made to make a circle. So here is my starting circle, the very center of my blanket. Move this out of the way. And I'm going to chain 2. This chain 2 does not count as a stitch, and I'm going to double crochet 12 in this starting circle. I'll yarn over, insert my hook into that circle, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then pull through 2 and pull through 2. So there's your first double crochet, and then we're going to make a total of 12. And you might need to squeeze them around a bit to make room. Oops. So there's my 12 double crochet. I'm going to find the very first stitch in the round. So here's my chain 2. I'm not going to use that because that doesn't count as a double crochet. In the very first double crochet, I'm going to insert my hook into the top 2 loops and slip stitch to that very first one to make round 1. Now for round 2, I'm going to chain 1, and the chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And in the very first stitch, the same one that I have my chain 1 in, I'm going to work a popcorn stitch. So for a popcorn stitch, we're going to do a series of 5 half double crochets. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull through all 3 for my first half double crochet. Do that 4 more times in the same stitch. 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 half double crochet all in the same space. I'm going to remove my hook from the active stitch, and I'm going to insert my hook into the very first of this 5 half double crochet series. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to insert my hook in the top of the very first of those 5. Then I'm going to grab that active loop and I'm going to pull it through. And there you have your first popcorn stitch. So it gives it kind of that bobble stitch look, but it's a little bit more pronounced than your typical bobble stitch. So now I'm going to single crochet in this same stitch. So I have a popcorn and a single crochet in that stitch. I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to do another popcorn. So I'll do 5 half double crochets. So there's my 5 half double crochets. I'm going to take my hook out of the active loop and I'm going to insert it in the first of these 5 half double crochets. Right there. And I always count. I always count to make sure, because the top loops of a half double crochet always go a little bit behind the stitch. So just to make sure I grab the right one, I always count. And then you put your hook back into that active loop and pull it through that first half double crochet. And then we're going to single crochet again in the same stitch. We're doing 2 stitches all the way around so that that creates an increase for our round 2. So again, popcorn stitch. Let me show you that, I'm sorry. So 5 half double crochet all in the next stitch. And then I'm going to pull my hook out of my active loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put it in the first of those 5 half double crochets. and then pull that octave loop through the first one, and a single crochet. So we're going to work that all the way around our circle so that we'll have 12 popcorns and 12 single crochets. So again, popcorn stitch, and then single crochet. Work that all the way around. So here I finished round 2. I have 12 popcorn stitches and 12 single crochets. Definitely count those just to make sure. I don't know how many times I had to go back and redo this round because I kept accidentally skipping these double crochets that get hidden behind the popcorn stitches. So definitely double check that you have 12. I'm glad I did, because otherwise I would have been in big trouble. So here's my last single crochet, and I'm going to join to the first popcorn stitch with a slip stitch. Now for round 3, I'm going to again start with a chain 2, and this chain 2 does not count as a double crochet. And in each stitch I'm going to work a double crochet and chain 1. So here I'm on the top of my popcorn stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and insert my hook in the same place as my chain 2 and work a double crochet. And then I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to work a double crochet in the single crochet right next to it. So right here is my next stitch. It's a single crochet and a double crochet in that stitch, and then chain 1. And then the next popcorn stitch, I'm going to work another double crochet. So you could see the top of it's right here. Right here is where I'm going to insert my hook to work my double crochet, and then chain 1. And then double crochet in the next single crochet, and chain 1. And then double crochet in this popcorn stitch, inserting your hook. You can kind of see, it's harder to see on the popcorn stitch is the top of the stitch, but right here is where those top 2 loops are. Right here. And then chain 1. And repeat that all the way around. So here is the end of round 3. I have 24 double crochets for round 3. I'm ending the round with my chain 1. So I'm going to join to the first double crochet in the round. For round 4, I'm going to start with a chain 1, and it does not count as a stitch. I'm going to single crochet in the same stitch. And then this next chain space, I'm going to single crochet in that chain 1 space. In this next double crochet, I'm going to work a front post double crochet. So that means I'm going to work my double crochet around the entire post of this stitch rather than the top loops. So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to go from behind the stitch. I'm going to insert my hook so I'm pushing the whole entire post forward. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop and work my double crochet by pulling through 2 and then yarn over and pull through 2. Now I'm going to work another single crochet in this chain 1 space and single crochet in the next double crochet, single crochet in the chain 1 space, and then front post double crochet in the next double crochet. So I'll yarn over, insert my hook from behind, work my hook behind the entire post of the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and work that regular double crochet. And you're going to repeat that all the way around. So basically every other double crochet, instead of the single crochet, you're going to be working this front post. So single crochet in all of your chain 1 spaces, and then in every other double crochet you're going to be alternating single crochet, front post double, single crochet, front post double. So again, I will single crochet in the next 3. So single crochet in the chain 1 space, single crochet in the double crochet, and then single crochet in the chain 1 space, and then my front post double crochet in the next. So repeat that all the way around your circle, single crochet in 3 stitches, including the chain spaces. 1, 2, 3, and then front post double crochet in the next. And repeat that around. Here is the end of this round where I ended with a single crochet in this final chain 1 space, and I'm going to join to the first single crochet with a slip stitch. Here you have round 4, and now we're going to start with round 5, and for round 5 we're going to start with a chain 4. And this chain 4 does count as a double crochet. The chain 3 counts as a double crochet, plus the chain counts as a chain 1. So here you have a double crochet plus a chain 1. And I'm going to double crochet in the same stitch as my chain 4. So here I have a V stitch because I have the double crochet plus my chain 1 plus another double crochet. So I have a V stitch here for my first stitch of this round. And I'm going to skip this one, skip the next single crochet, and work a front post double crochet around this front post double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over and again insert my hook through the entire post of this double crochet from the previous round and work my double crochet. And then in the next double crochet, I'm going to skip, I'm going to skip this single crochet, and in the next one, which is on top of this double crochet here, I'm going to work another V stitch. So I'm going to double crochet in this stitch here, work a double crochet, chain 1, and another double crochet in the same stitch. And that is a V stitch. Now I'm going to skip the next single crochet and front post double in the next. So you're going to yarn over and insert your hook around that entire post of that double crochet and work a double crochet. And then I'm going to skip the next single crochet and V stitch in the next. I keep saying double crochet. I'm going to skip this next single and V stitch in the next. So that's a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in the same space. And you're going to repeat that all the way around where you work a V stitch, skip 1, so we're going to skip the next one, and then front post double crochet. And then skip the next and V stitch. You're going to see in this pattern I use a lot of the same stitches throughout. We've already seen a few. You're going to see quite a few popcorn stitches in this pattern. You're going to see quite a few front post double crochets and also V stitches. So I'm going to skip the next one and front post double crochet in the next. Skip 1 and V stitch in the next, and I'll repeat that all the way around. So here's the end of round 5. I'm ending with a front post double crochet, and I'm going to join to the first chain 3 of the round. I know we started with a chain 4, but the chain 3 part is what counts as the double crochet because we want to leave the chain 1 space for the V stitch. So here I'm going to join to that chain 3 so that you can see we still have that chain 1 in the middle, so our first stitch still looks like that V-stitch shape that we're looking for. So that was round 5, and now for round 6, it's going to be basically a round of single crochet, except for we are going to continue this front post double crochet pattern in this next round. So I'll chain 1, and the chain 1 does not count as a stitch, so I'm going to single crochet in this same space. And then I'm going to single crochet in the first chain 1 space. And single crochet in the next double crochet. So I've single crocheted across the first V-stitch in the first double crochet, the chain 1, and then the next double crochet. Now I'm going to front post double crochet around the front post double crochet from the previous round. And then now I'll single crochet in the next 3 stitches of the V-stitch. So in the next double crochet, and then single crochet in the chain 1 space, and then single crochet in the next double. And then now I will front post double crochet around the next front post double. And I will repeat that all the way around, working my single crochets across the V-stitch from the previous row, and then front post double crochet in the same front post double crochet, so that we have the same front post look going throughout, kind of like a sunburst through the center of coming out of the center of our blanket. Single crochet in the next 3, front post double crochet in the next. I'm at the last stitch of my round, which is a front post double crochet. So I'm going to work that last front post double crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch to the very first single crochet of my round. And there you have round 6, I believe. Yes, round 6. So now for round 7, I actually want to start here in this next single crochet. So I'm going to slip stitch to the next single crochet because I want to change where I'm starting in this round. So I'm going to slip stitch over, so I'm kind of in this middle single crochet of this first group of 3 that I had from the previous round. And I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to work 5 double crochet in this same stitch, creating a shell stitch. This is another one that you will see throughout the blanket. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 double crochet in the same stitch, and that will be a shell stitch throughout our blanket. Also, I want to note that my circle is curling up right here, and that's fine. It's just a little bit tight from some of our front post double crochets, which we are going to continue again in this round. But as we continue, it'll flatten out, it'll work itself out. But right now, it might be a little bit tight and kind of cup up a little bit, and that's fine. Don't worry about that right now. So here we have our first shell stitch, 5 double crochet in the same. I'm going to skip the next single crochet, and I'm going to work a front post double crochet in the next. I'm going to skip the next single crochet and work my next shell stitch right here in the next. So that's 5 double crochet in the same space. And then I will front post double crochet in the next. We're going to repeat that around. I'm going to skip a single crochet, 5 double crochet or shell stitch in the next. and then front post double crochet here in this next stitch. After I'm sorry, skip the single crochet, front post double crochet here in the next. Skip the next single crochet, shell stitch in the next. There are lots of variations of a shell stitch, so whenever you're reading a pattern, definitely be sure to check the pattern notes and see specifically what type of shell that designer is using in their pattern. It's not always 5 double crochet in one space. There are different variations of a shell, so depending on the design and everything, you'll definitely want to check in the pattern notes and make sure what type of shell stitch they're using. Definitely don't assume that it's going to be 5 double crochet in the same space for every pattern. Skip one, front post double crochet in the next. So here is the end of round 7, and I ended with the front post double crochet, and I'm going to join to the first double crochet of the round with a slip stitch. Now for round 8, I'm going to start with a chain 1, and in this round we're going to be seeing the popcorn stitches again, and we're also going to start turning this circle into a square. So I'm going to single crochet in these first 2 stitches from this shell. So I'm going to single crochet, and I'm going to slip stitch in the next. So just pulling my loop through and then pull that first loop through the second loop on my hook. And then I'm going to single crochet in the next 2. Now in the next stitch I'm going to work a popcorn stitch. So again, that was 5 half double crochet in the same stitch. Then pulling your hook out of the active loop and putting it in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those 5 half double crochets. Grab that active loop and pull it through the top loops of the first. Now I'm going to single crochet in the next 2. And then slip stitch in the next. So I'm just pulling up a loop and pulling this first loop through the second one on my hook. And I'm doing that because I want to straighten up the top of these shell stitches. I don't want it to be a bump for the next round. I'm trying to straighten it up. So these single crochets are a little bit taller, and then I'm doing this short stitch at the top of the shell, and then the 2 single crochets at the end. So single crochet in the next 2. Just to flatten up the top of that shell stitch. Now I'm going to popcorn stitch in the next. So 5 half double crochets. And then pull your hook out of that first loop, the active loop, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put it back in the first of that series and pull that active loop through the first. So single crochet in the next 2 stitches and slip stitches in the next, and then single crochet in the next 2. And as I mentioned before, we are going to start turning the circle into a square. So this next stitch is going to be their first corner. So I'm going to do a popcorn stitch, chain 2, popcorn stitch, all in this same stitch here to create my first corner. So 5 half double crochet. I lost count because I was talking. Okay, one more. Make that popcorn stitch. 1, 2, 3, 5. There we go. and then chain 2, and then popcorn again in that same stitch. So there's your first corner. Now we'll single crochet in the next 2 and slip stitch in the next. So basically at the top of that shell we'll do that slip stitch and then single crochet in 2 and then 1 popcorn in the next stitch. So we're going to work this pattern around where we'll have continue working that single crochet, slip stitch, 2 single crochet across the shells. We'll have 2 popcorn stitches and then a corner all the way around. So here's on this side I have my first popcorn stitch, so I'm going to again do my 2 single crochet, slip stitch, and 2 single crochet. I think I just had a color change. Yeah, it looks that way. And like I said, I'm just letting the colors flow and come as they may, so you may not have a color change here, you might. But in the grand scheme of things overall, you can't really tell when there is a color change in the middle of a round. It all just flows really beautifully. Now, in the next stitch is my next popcorn. And then 2 single crochet, slip stitch, 2 single crochet, and then I have my 2 popcorn stitches. I'm up to my next corner space, so I'm going to do my popcorn, chain 2, popcorn stitch, all in the same space. Chain 2, and then again with another popcorn. And we'll repeat that around until you get back to your first single crochet of the round. So my last stitch of this round, it is a corner stitch, so I have that popcorn, chain 2 popcorn. I'm going to join to the first single crochet with a slip stitch. So here you can kind of see where we're at. We have our corners here and corners started here. So for the next round we're going to continue turning these into corner spaces, furthering our square shape. This next round is going to be a round of half double crochet. So we're going to chain 2. The chain 2 does not count as a half double crochet, so we're going to start in this very first stitch with our first half double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. And I'm going to do that across all of these stitches. Half double crochet in the next single crochet, half double crochet in the slip stitch, and then the next 2 single crochets, and then the popcorn stitch. And you're going to half double crochet all the way across to the first chain 2 space. So here's the next popcorn, and then here's that chain 2 space, and in the chain 2 space I'm going to work 2 half double crochet, chain 2, 2 half double crochet. So there's my 2 half double crochet, chain 2, and then 2 more half double crochet. And then I'm going to do that same thing. So here's my first side. I half double crocheted all the way across, and I made this corner here. And I'm going to do the same thing across this side, where I will half double crochet across this side, and then 2 half double crochet, chain 2, 2 half double crochet here in this chain 2 space, and I will repeat that all the way around my around my circle, making this, there we go, I skipped this popcorn. Careful not to do that. So after your corner, don't forget to half double crochet in the very next popcorn. There we go. Now I'll continue on. Here is my last corner of the round. I have 1 more half double crochet in this popcorn stitch, and then I can join to the first half double crochet of my round. So here we kind of got a little more of a square shape going on. So for the next round, in round 10, we are going to be again doing a round of half double crochets, but they're going to be worked in the 3rd loop of the stitch. So I'm going to chain 2, and here we have the top 2 loops that we generally insert our hook into to work a stitch. Well, behind a half double crochet there is this vertical bar you could see kind of right here, and that's where we're going to be inserting our hook. So here's my first stitch. Let's see if I can get it to focus for us. And I'm going to insert my hook into this vertical bar right here, and yarn over and pull it. Oh, I didn't yarn over. First yarn over, then insert your hook into this vertical bar, or this horizontal bar in the back of the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and work your half double crochet. And you can see what it does is it pushes forward those top 2 loops that we skipped over, and it's going to create kind of this ribbing extra texture look across our row. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into this stitch, this bar right here on the back of my stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull through all 3 for my half double crochet. So you're going to be working across the back, inserting your hook into this back loop in each of the half double crochet. And you can see the texture it creates on the front of your work. So yarn over, right here is that horizontal bar, or the 3rd loop. It's right behind the top loop. So here's our top loops, there's the 3rd loop. Insert your hook and work a half double crochet, and do that all the way across to the first chain 2 space. So here I've worked across the top all the way to my next chain 2 space. You could see how it's pushed forward those top 2 loops all the way across and created this ribbing type texture. So here's my chain 2 space, and in my chain 2 space I'm going to do popcorn, chain 2, popcorn. So again, those 5 half double crochets, and then work that popcorn stitch and chain 2, and then another popcorn stitch in the same chain 2 space. So there's our first corner, and you're going to repeat that all the way around. Half double crochet, third loop, all the way to the chain 2 space, popcorn, chain 2, popcorn in your chain 2 space. After your corner space, be very careful in the next half double crochet because the third loop is a little bit hidden because of these chain stitches that came right before it. So you'll see so here's the third loop in the next stitch, but in the first one it's hidden right here, right on the edge of the stitch is where you want to insert your hook. If I can get it at this angle. There we go. So it's right there at the very edge of the stitch. And work that half double crochet. The next one is right here. These first ones are kind of hard to see because of that corner space there. It kind of hides that third loop. Very careful in those first couple stitches after you turn the corner, after that corner space. That third loop really likes to get hidden. Basically, you're going to need 23 half double crochets on each side after each popcorn. So not including the popcorn, you will need 23 half double crochets on each side. Here I have finished round 10, and I ended it with 3 half double crochets in the third loop at the end, at the beginning of this side of my square. Now for round 11, this will be the last round of this blanket. We're going to start with a chain 1. And again, we're going to be working in the third loop, but we're going to be working a single crochet in the third loop. So I'm going to single crochet in the third loop of the first 17 half double crochets. So I'm going to go to the back of my stitch and find that third loop and work a single crochet. And I'm going to do that 16 more times for a total of 17 single crochets across this first side. So there I have 17 single crochets. I have 3 stitches left before I get to this first popcorn stitch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip the next stitch, and here in this stitch I'm going to work a shell, and that shell is that 5 double crochet all in the same space. So I'm going to work 5 double crochet in this next half double crochet. Skip this one, shell, or 5 double crochet in this one. So there's that shell stitch. I'm going to skip this half double crochet, and in the popcorn stitch I'm going to single crochet in the popcorn. I'm going to popcorn in this chain 2 space, so 5 half double crochet here in this chain 2 space in the corner. And then pull your hook out of that active loop. And pull that active loop through the first half double crochet. And then I'm going to single crochet in the popcorn. Oops, that's the half double crochet. There we go. And then now for the next side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to skip this first half double crochet, and I'm going to shell in the next one. So right here I'm going to work that shell stitch, so that 5 double crochet in this stitch. And again, I'm going to skip the next half double crochet, and then I'm going to start with those single crochet third loop stitches again. So here's my next one. After I skip this half double crochet, I'm going to work in this one, And this one I'm going to find the third loop in the back of the stitch and work that single crochet. And I'm going to do that in 16 more stitches for a total of 17 across this side. And again, I have 3 half double crochet left on this side before I get to the corner space. So I'm going to skip this next one and work my shell in the next stitch. So 5 double crochet in the next stitch. Skip this half double crochet and single crochet in the popcorn. And then now you're at your chain 2 space. You're going to make 1 popcorn stitch in this chain 2 space. And then now in the next popcorn stitch, making sure you're working in the popcorn and not the next half double crochet, this stitch right here, that's a part of this first double crochet on the next side. So I may need to move my stitches over to find the top of this popcorn stitch for my single crochet. Now I'm on the next side where I'm going to skip this first half double crochet and shell right here in the next, working those 5 double crochets all in the same space. And then we're going to continue that same pattern where we skip the next half double crochet and single crochet in the third loop in the next one. I'm going to go behind my stitch, find my third loop, and make that first single crochet. And then I'm going to do 16 more for a total of 17 single crochet across this next side. And then here I'm at my last 3 half double crochet on this side before I get to my popcorn stitches. And I'm going to skip the next half double crochet and shell stitch in the next. Oops. Skip the next half double crochet and single crochet in your popcorn, then popcorn stitch in the chain 2. Single crochet in the popcorn, and then skip your half double crochet, shell in the next. Skip this next half double crochet and starting in the next one, work those 17 single crochet third loop only. And again, I have 3 stitches left on this side before my popcorn stitch, so I'm going to skip this one and shell in the next. And then skip the next half double crochet and single crochet in your popcorn stitch. Popcorn stitch in the chain 2. Single crochet in the popcorn stitch. And here's the last 3 of this round, where I'm going to skip this half double crochet and work my shell stitch in the next. So I'll make 5 double crochet here in the next. And then that is it for this round. I'm going to join to the first single crochet with a slip stitch. And that is it for part 1 of the Mandala Crochet Blanket. I actually went ahead and snipped this end and pulled it through over here because we'll need to rejoin our yarn in a different space for part 2 next week. So I will see you next Friday for part 2 of our blanket.